And in the studio today, as you can see, we have the two Robbies with us, Savage and Fowler. Let's start, though, with Thomas Hitzlsperger. The former Aston Villa, West Ham and Everton midfielder came out this week. German international retired at the end of last season and said it would have been too difficult to make the announcement while he was still playing the game. He's been speaking very honestly to Gary Lineker.
Well, it's been a couple of days now, Thomas, since you broke the news. How have you found the response so far?
Well, I'm overwhelmed. The response has been tremendous, very positive, and a lot of people have joined in. They said something, and yeah, it's all been very positive. I'm very pleased with reactions, but yeah, it was quite intense too.
Was it what you expected, the response?
Well, it's difficult to say. I didn't really have any expectations. I knew it could be quite big, it could be big news, but on the other hand, because I'm not playing anymore, people might just say, you know, he's not an active player anymore, you know, we don't really care. So I didn't quite know how big it would be, but I have to say after a couple of days it was quite big news apparently.
Why did you wait until after your career had finished, Thomas?
Never really crossed my mind to talk about it while I was playing, because I was totally committed to football. Only late in my career it really dawned on me that I'm gay. You know, I was in a relationship with a woman for many years. And when we broke up, I left alone for a few years, and just towards the end I thought, you know, this is me, I'm gay, and I don't really want to talk about it because I'm still committed to football. It's my private life, and now it's the right time for me to talk about it, and that's why I've chosen to do it now. I tried a couple of years ago, and I asked friends, I said, you know, I might want to go public. And they said, don't do it, pressure will be too big for you. So I thought maybe it's too early to talk about it in public, and I should get my head down and play football, and that's what I did.
Do you wish you'd ignored their advice and perhaps come out while you were playing? Perhaps it would have made an even bigger impact if you were still currently in action?
No. With 2 extra years that I have now, more experience, myself, I'm more relaxed about the whole issue. I think the time is right for me now, and 2 years ago I wasn't really prepared for it. I couldn't have done it 2 years ago, and that's why I think it was wise to listen to that advice.
What do you say to those people that say, well, you know, it's your business, why do you feel the need to tell us this is not news? What do you say to them?
It's fine, it's their opinion, but it's not as simple, because for many years people asked me questions. They said, are there any gay football players? Do you know anyone? It really interested them, and there's a lot of people who show interest in that. But there are also people out there who say, I don't care what these players do. I want them to play well for my team. I don't care who they go home with, what they do in their spare time. But there's a lot of people actually who do show interest in the private lives of a football player, and I think now they know a little bit more, and that's fine.
Hitzlsperger tees it up nicely. Oh, what a goal! What a strike!
Do you feel that football is perhaps more homophobic than other workplaces, other sports, for example?
It's difficult to say because gay football players are invisible in professional football. We don't know any. There aren't any active players in a European top league. I mean, Robbie Rogers, he came out you know, probably 6-7 months ago. He's decided to go back to football, which is great for him. I'm very pleased for him. But in the Premiership, in the Bundesliga, there aren't any out gay players, and therefore we can't say whether the atmosphere is homophobic in the stadiums. We need to wait and see.
Hitzlsperger! Oh, what a fantastic goal from Thomas Hitzlsperger!
You know, when I've sat in dressing rooms over the years, you generally look down, you go, well, he's a good player, he's not very good, he's having a bad time at the moment. You don't look at players and you go, well, he's black, he's white, he's straight, he's gay. Do you sense that as well? Or?
Well, it wasn't a big issue when I was playing. When I look back, I can't really remember that we talked about homosexuality in a sense that we had discussions. There were speculations about players, of course, but like you just said, that didn't really play a role. We said, who's playing well? How do I get into the team? If I'm in the team, how do I stay there? It's all about the football. You know, you get together in the morning to prepare for the training. When you're in training, prepare for the game, and that's what it was all about. Of course, occasionally you talk about your private life, but to a really small extent.
Did you ever tell one of your teammates?
Not as long as I was playing. No, I didn't think there was a need for it. And towards the end of my career, I've moved clubs so frequently, unfortunately. And I never had the time to become good friends with players. And therefore, you know, you don't come into the dressing room as a new player and tell them everything about your private life. There was no need for it. Therefore, I didn't do that. But after my career, like, you know, a few months ago, I talked to one or two players about it.
You've had an extraordinary reaction. Major politicians right across the board, both here in the UK and, of course, in Germany. Have you had much reaction from fellow players?
I've heard from two players that I used to play with, and that's it. One or two players tweeted something, which was quite nice of them to do it. But in general, no, I haven't heard from the players, which is fine for me. You know, I didn't do this to hear from the players, but that's all right.
Hitzlsperger hits it! What a strike! Out of nothing!
How long do you think it will be before we get a gay footballer, a current footballer?
I honestly don't know. We might be a long way away from it. We might be close to it. I just hope that players who are in that situation, that they think about coming out, that with what I've said in the past few days, that it might encourage them. It has always encouraged me when I read and heard about gay athletes, when they talked about their experiences, how wonderful it was when they came out, the positive reactions that they had. And I just confirmed that. So maybe it gives some players encouragement and say they feel freer if they're at an early stage in their career, they know that they're gay. Hopefully that's the case, but I honestly don't know. Maybe it does not have an effect on gay players now, that they still keep quiet, which is fine for them. It's everyone's own business, and we should not push anyone.
How important is it, do you think, for young gay men to have role models? How does that contrast with the overall stereotype that's often served up in the media?
Well, the more professional athletes talk about it, the better it becomes for those people who live in those stereotypes. They think, you know, you can't be a professional athlete and gay, especially in football, because it's a macho world. You've got to be tough and stuff, and gays are apparently the opposite. But that's not the case, and I think I've demonstrated, other players have demonstrated. When I look at Gareth Thomas, you know, he's just so strong, and he is certainly the opposite of people think a homosexual should be like. And then John Amici, for example, when I heard about his story, I read his book. It's been very inspiring for me.
Should the Bundesliga, the Football Association, UEFA, FIFA, whoever it is, do they do enough in terms of the whole gay issue?
It's hard to say because, like I said earlier, there isn't a gay football player right now that we know of. So they can't really deal with the whole issue. They can prepare for young players, for any player, what to do when they come out, how can they do it. When I look over to Germany, there is the German FA. They brought out a brochure that's called Homosexuality and Football. I think it's quite useful that the German FA takes a stance on it. With the FA, I'm not quite sure how much they've done so far, but I assume they all wait for someone to come out who's still playing, and then they will react to it. That's my assumption.
We will reach a stage, won't we, where it's just a given?
Yeah, I believe in it. I do believe in it, and hopefully sooner rather than later.
Thomas, it's been a real pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
And I've enjoyed listening, and it's great what you're doing. Well done.
Thanks very much. Thank you. Cheers, Gary.
Cheers, Thomas.
Gentlemen, there's probably something we need to clear up before we address this issue, because both of you have been criticised this week for comments you made to Graham Le Saux during his career. Now, he said that abuse almost made him consider giving up football entirely. And Robbie, is it something you regret?
Yeah, of course. I mean, obviously a few years ago, obviously a lot was said on pitches, a few idiotic things, but you know, I am genuinely sorry. You know, it was used as a bit of a wind-up mechanism. You know, looking back, you know, it's embarrassing, and you know, I am sorry. I've been in touch with Graham. You know, I've apologised. You know, unfortunately, I can't do anything more than that, but I genuinely am sorry.
Robbie, something you'd like to say as well?
Well, as Robbie's alluded to, you know, 20 years ago, football pitches were, you know, a very different place, and a lot of footballers said a lot of things that were wrong. You know, I've also spoken to Graham this week. You know, what everyone's read in his book was his version of events, you know, and I genuinely can't remember the incident. But what I will say is that, you know, they weren't my views then, and more importantly, certainly not my views now.
I think also as well, Dan, I think you're... I mean, certainly if things happen on a pitch, I mean, the important thing is you learn from it. And I know I certainly have. You know, and another important thing is other people can learn off some things that I've done as well. So, you know, I'm thankful for, you know, people can learn off my
even if it necessarily wasn't the right thing at the time.
Of course, it was wrong, and we're sorry.
What have you made of the general reaction to Thomas Hitzlsperger's interview this week? Because he almost said it there, he was surprised himself.
I think it's been magnificent. You know, the football community is 100% in support, and rightly so, because, you know, I was going back to my days, if somebody was to come out in a dressing room I played in, you would see him no different. You'd see him as a footballer, and nothing would change. So I think, you know, if there are, you know, Premiership footballers out there, or any footballer in general that needs to come out, I think it's fantastic to do. The
Football Association have a homophobia action plan. There is an initiative which starts next month. Gary Lineker asked Thomas Hitzlsperger there about a current Premier League player coming out. How close are we to that? Do you think that the dressing room would be accepting of that now?
You know what? I mean, for years and years, I don't think it would ever be a problem. You know, years ago, it probably would have been more of a problem on the terraces. I don't think it would have been in the dressing room. Certainly don't think it'll be a problem in the dressing room now, and I don't think it'll be a problem on the terraces now.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for your honesty on that issue. It's been a busy week for Mr Lineker, by the way. He's back in the studio tonight for Match of the Day, and he'll be joined by Alan Hansen and the former Cardiff City boss, Malky Mackay.